Afternoon, guys. Right, okay, so just wanted to come at you with another one just about the video we did yesterday, just to clarify some details and just give you a kind of a more concise reading on what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so I've just got the email here about the summer promotion in front of me, and I'll refer back to this as we need it, okay? But the way this promotion goes, and I've probably touched on this to a good extent in the reaction video that I will link below, along with a link to the video we did yesterday. In case any of you haven't caught them, you can just flick between them at your pleasure, okay? So, as we know, it's broken into phase 1 and phase 2, okay? Or part 1, part 2, as it says here in this email, okay? Now, there's 3 ways to utilise this, okay? So I'm going to start with number 1, what I'm doing, and that is phase 2 only, okay? Which is why in the video yesterday that was my viewpoint was I'm probably fairly common in the respect that, you know, you guys will probably have similar, and I say similar, you know, everything's relative, financial constraints to what I do. You know, you can't just drop £10,000 in your football index at the drop of a hat, or, you know, I don't have £10,000 to do anything with right now as we speak, you know. So that's why the video, and I said that at the beginning of the video yesterday, is take this with a pinch of salt. This is the way I'm looking at it, and I'm going to be only looking at exploiting phase 2 only, which is why all my transactions are mapped out between now and the end of April, if you watched the fantasy football video earlier today, okay? So to exploit phase 2 only, okay? Now, obviously the name of the game is depositing money without withdrawing it, okay? That is the best, that is the simplest and easiest way to utilize it, okay? Now, to exploit phase 2 only, okay, what you want to be, you know, what a great way of getting yourself in position to do this would be, okay, is there's a couple of different methods, okay? So the main one that I'm not able to fully utilize myself because I need to withdraw money, okay, is, as you can see there now, right, the value of my portfolio is 1579, right? If I sold everything today, right, 157908, right? If I sold everything right now, I would have a remaining balance of 1547, call it 50, right? Now, so this is money I have in the index already, okay? I've lost 2% on the commission to football index, right? But if I then went back and bought everything that I just sold, right, from selling on midnight April into the 1st of May, okay, and then just on this alone, right, just on the existing portfolio as it sits right now, I will then get a 5% dividend on top of this figure, because that will be my net buys, okay? But because, so times 1.05, so add 5% back on, okay? So that means I'm guaranteeing what's that, £45. I basically would make £45 profit on the existing money that's in my index now. Now, by doing that, you would be totally screwing yourself out of phase 1, because you're selling it all in phase 1, if that makes sense. And that's why football index have done it like this, so that you can't, excuse my language, but you can't just shag both phases. If you're gonna try and take one and exploit it, then it really does you out of the other one, if that makes sense, okay? So for phase 2 only, like with if I wasn't in a position where I had to withdraw money now to exploit phase 2, then this is exactly what I would be doing. What I mean is I need to withdraw money, okay? So if I withdraw money, that goes into my sell column, which means my net buys becomes harder to break even and get into a positive situation. So because I know I need to withdraw money, I need to personally choose, am I going to ride phase 1 or am I going to ride phase 2? And because phase 1 is such a narrow time scale and I've not got any funds to really exploit it, I'm then going to exploit phase 2, which I see being I see that being the majority of the index taking advantage of phase 2 over phase 1, because we've got a heads up that it's coming, it's over a longer window, and more people will just be prepared to put money in at that, okay? Okay, so making the most of phase 2, right? I'll say it again. You need to do all your transactions that you can foresee that you need to do for whatever reason it might be before phase 1 finishes, okay? So that might be you need to withdraw money into your personal account for whatever reason. It might be you've had a profit target on someone and you're just kind of maybe getting a tad greedy. Am I just going to sit on this a bit longer? I'll sell them in 2 weeks. Well, do you know what? If you sell them in 2 weeks, that's then in the beginning of phase 2, you're then putting phase 2 at a negative because you're selling somebody later on, if that makes sense. Okay, so the second way you can exploit the promotion is just you're not in a position you need to withdraw. You don't see any reason to withdraw. There's nothing you can forecast. You can just deposit all the way. Just keep going. Phase 1, phase 1, phase 1, phase 2, phase 2, and you can just exploit it, both of them, to the best of your financial capabilities without any constraints, without anything. But what you do need to watch when you're doing that is to fully utilize it. Is you really really can't be selling anything. You want to be keeping everything that you're buying. So all your transactions still need to be heavily thought out, and everyone that you're purchasing, you need to be comfortable with the price you're purchasing them at. Okay, now I say that for one big reason, okay, is at the end of this promotion, when phase 2 comes to an end, there will be a dip in the market. The market cap will move backwards. People will be withdrawing, and people will be, taking money out of it. Okay, so you need to set yourself up for that as well. There is a time to cash in. There is a time to make the most of it, but I can promise you this now, at the end of phase 2 there will be a withdrawal. Okay, and then the third plan of attack is that you just totally invest everything into phase 1 to get that 10%. It's a smaller window, so you'll need to put a lot more money on the table to make it worth your while, versus 5% over a 2-month period, 10% over a 2-week period. You really need to get the full £1,000 out of it to make it worthwhile. That's the maximum bonus that they're paying out on. Okay, now, with that being said, I'm going to go back to the second option, right? Exploiting phase 1 and phase 2, okay? Now, if you're able to deposit more in phase 1, for whatever reason, then I would strongly encourage you to do that, because when you get your 10% paid out on the 1st of May, that 10%, you can put that straight into phase 2. So that 10% is then going to earn you an additional 5% of that, if that makes sense, along with all the dividends you're going to be earning. It's all about reinvesting them, guys, and keeping it ticking over as much as absolutely possible. Okay, but with each free strategies, you need to say to yourself, what one am I and what am I going to do? Okay, phase 2 only, I'm going to say it again, you need to do all your transactions early in April, like the now, and have yourself set up so come 1st of May you can buy and you can move your portfolio the way you see yourself doing that. Option 2, you exploit phase 1 and phase 2, and in which case you're just buying. Okay, you get your dividends, you get your 10% payout in the 1st of May, and you reinvest it, and you're picking up people who you can see have got the ability to grow in the market with capital for whatever reason, media, match days, Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, Nations Leagues, all this stuff. Okay, and then the third one is the most unlikely. You're just going to exploit phase 1. You maybe got a wad of money in the bank, and do you know what, because this is the facts, right? At the end of phase 1 and at the end of phase 2, if you're only going to exploit one of them, you can really rip it, right? So let's say, for example, somebody put a comment on YouTube or on, I think it was the YouTube, saying, oh, I'm so tempted to just put all my money, all my wages into this, right? Now, gamble responsibly. Please consider what I'm saying very carefully, right? If you're paid your wages, or you have a lot of money, right, sitting about doing nothing, or you're saving it up, whatever, right? Let's imagine you could put in, and I'm just going to make up an abstract figure here, right? Let's say £2,000, right? Let's say on the 30th of April, you have the ability to deposit £2,000 into Football Index, okay? And let's say you buy £2,000 worth of, who is trending now? Man, it's pretty bad, but nobody terribly. Nicholas Pepe, right? So let's say you buy £2,000 worth of Nicholas Pepe, right? So you'll end up with 275 of them, right? Okay, you then sell him the next day. Let's say his price remains stagnant, okay? So you sell him the next day, okay? So you then sell, he's 265, isn't he? So you then sell him the next day for that amount of money, times your 98%. So, sorry. Yeah, so that's how much you'd have spent on him, right? Then you're going to lose £40 in commission, right? Let's just go £39.97, right? Okay. Now you're going to have a net buy of, let's imagine your buys are equal, they're level, you've not bought anything to this point, right? You're then going to earn 10% on that net buy, which is £199, minus the, what was it, £37, £39, let's call it, whatever it was. You're going to be £160 up from depositing a massive amount on the 30th of April and withdrawing it all on the 1st of May, if you're able to sell the stock, that is, obviously, you know, you can sell it quick enough and the price remains stagnant, you'll lose 2% to the index on the commission, but they're going to give you a 10% bonus. So that's 8% of free money. You know, you then withdraw your £2,000, put it back in your bank, and you've now got £160 in football index, free of charge, risk-free, whatever you want to call it, you know, money. And £160, you could put that into easily something that could make you a nice dividend or grow over the summer, or, you know, whatever. You could buy 100, you could buy 100 of a good player, you know. You could buy pretty much 100 Zaha, you know. You could buy 100, what's that boy, Skov. You could buy 100 Bergwijn. You could buy pretty much 100 De Jong. You could buy 100 Tielemans, you know, and then you're in a great position. You've just got free money on a great position out of nowhere. Equally, you could do the exact same thing at the if you're getting to the end of phase 2 and you've been building up your deposits. So let's say over the 2-month period, from the 1st of May to the end of June, when the phase 2 ends, right? Let's say you've deposited, let's say £25 a week, right? Let's be conservative, right? Times, let's just call it 8 weeks for easy maths, right? So you've deposited £200 over that period, and then at the end, the very end, the last day of the whistle, right? You have the, and this is at the end of phase 2. This is a lot riskier because, as I say, I do anticipate a big downward turn at the end of phase 2. If you were able to deposit then £2,000 at the end of, just because it's an abstract number, guys, I'm just saying 2,000 for easy maths, right? Then on the 1st of July, like most people are going to try and sell their stuff, guys. They might do the dirty, they might just do quick selling, okay? They've got their 10% and whatever, right? But you then sell all that stuff. So you're then left with so you would then be earning a 5% dividend on that. So you'd be getting a free £110. And then when you sell it all, you're going down by £44, but you've went up 110. So overall, you know, you've maximised it as much as you can. Okay. Now, when you do it on phase 2, because it is a smaller percentage, and with that added risk of the market dumping, it is much riskier. Okay. But if you're able to do that to exploit phase 1, then brilliant, like we just spoke about just now. But by doing that, you are going to be pretty much hamstringing, you know, you're pretty much tying your hands behind your back for phase 2. Okay, so I just wanted to try and clarify as best I can what I was talking about in the video yesterday with stop buying. If you're like me, and I would imagine most people, phase 2 is where you're really going to be able to exploit this promotion. Then stop buying the now, keep your capital and utilise it later. Okay, but if you're able to exploit both phases, then you're just buying and not selling, as I explained. And you might want to, and if you're just exploiting phase 1, you know, if you're just after that cheeky 8% net, you can just do that. Just rip phase 1, just rip the absolute backside out of it, and then just wash your hands of phase 2, forget it, you know. Then those are the 3 angles you need to be looking at this for. Okay, I'm starting to babble now because I really want to make sure I'm coming across clearly in the 3 things I'm trying to get across to you. Okay, I think I've done that reasonably well. Okay, if I've not, please comment below. I'll answer any questions or respond. I'll interact, of course, as I always do. Okay, thanks a lot for tuning into the video today, guys. If you're new around here, please subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. If you find me on Twitter, retweet, like, share, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble. I really do hope this is useful for you. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.